President Trump held his first face-to-face meeting in 6 years with his Chinese counterpart today. Trump and President Xi met for about an hour and 40 minutes. While no formal agreements were announced, the White House says the two agreed China would restart purchasing American soybeans, which they stopped when the tariff wars began this spring. To talk about the results of the highly anticipated meeting, we are joined now by Packard, Trade Policy Research Fellow at the Cato Institute. Sir, thanks for joining us. So how significant is it that there was this deal, this agreement to purchase soybeans? And you keep in mind here, this is a handshake deal, right? Nothing formal in writing, and farmers are understandably skeptical.
Look, I think it's a positive development for farmers that are eager to reach the Chinese consumers. You're talking about basically moving the purchase from essentially zero back to 2024 levels. So obviously that's a positive, and it will increase prices. So I think for farmers, I think there's genuine concern about how valid it is. But if this comes to fruition, I think it's a positive development.
What about any other progress that's significant here that was made in your estimation?
Yeah, the United States lowered its fentanyl tariff on imports from China, and China agreed to crack down on fentanyl production in the country. Both sides are pausing their export controls, the United States on semiconductors, the Chinese on rare earth minerals. So ultimately, I do think that's a positive, taking this as a truce. But ultimately, I think there are long-term problems that will persist in the relationship that will continue to cause friction between both sides.
So at this moment, how do we characterize the nature of the relationship? It was brief, hour and 40, and President Trump's talking about coming back in several months.
Yeah, I think there's mistrust on both sides. Over the last 10 years, both sides have continued to ratchet up tension and increasing tools that they're using on the economic side. But ultimately, again, I think a truce right now is positive. It should calm markets a little bit. Ultimately, I'd like to see the United States lower its tariffs and the Chinese take steps to rebalance their economy toward more consumption and less production.
Is there any point of tension that you're concerned that could undo whatever baby steps were taken here? What could take this thing off the rails?
Yeah, obviously the Taiwan question overhangs a lot of the relationship, and anytime both sides are talking, I think that's again kind of overhanging the conversation. But ultimately, both sides are engaged in sort of an economic and strategic competition over technology in the 21st century. Who's going to dominate sort of the commanding heights of technology in the 21st century? And the two sides both want to maintain control over choke points. Again, the U.S. on semiconductors and the Chinese on rare earth minerals. But, again, taking this for what it was, I think ultimately it was a positive step.
What did you make of the president throwing nuclear weapons testing into the mix as he was on his way over there? What was that? A shot over the bow? What did you make of that?
I think so. I think there's been a lot of commentary in the United States that perhaps the balance of power has shifted toward the Chinese. But I think this was an unpredicted step by the White House, but ultimately designed to kind of send a shot across the bow that the United States is not going to be pushed around in this relationship.